This is just a primer, a brief description, an outline composed of words and images, all meant to convey an idea with the power to change your life. If what you are about to see and hear is hard to follow or seems confusing, watch it again, as many times as you must for it to make perfect sense to you. And if this presentation seems random or absurd, that's because it's unfamiliar and you really haven't been paying attention. But that's not your fault. You were never meant to notice. It's designed that way. An engine humming just below the threshold of hearing. That's the trick. If you did notice, the whole thing would wobble. The rhythm would break. So let me start bluntly. For the last 10,000 years, if not longer, the vast majority of human societies have primarily functioned as extraction engines. And in relatively modern times, beginning a little more than 500 years ago, one version of extraction engine has come to dominate almost every corner of the world. I'm talking about the engine that drives so-called Western civilization. This engine, first assembled in Europe and then perfected in America and other conquered and colonized lands, is particularly brutal, ruthless, and relentless in form and function. But very few people ever recognize that it even exists. Point to the shape of the engine and the cold, dehumanizing work it's meant to accomplish. And many will shrug and say, well, that's just the way things are. But make no mistake, things are the way they are because they were designed to be. Intentionally, methodically, with a clear purpose in mind. When I speak of an extraction engine, I am not being poetic or speaking figuratively. This engine is not a metaphor for struggle. Instead, this engine is the kind that takes from the many and funnels to the few. A merciless industrial process for concentrating wealth and power. I'm not talking about a single villain behind a curtain. I'm talking about a pattern so old it feels like gravity. A set of rules we're born into, that we live and die by, often without ever questioning them. In feudal fields and guild halls, in factories, in boardrooms, in back channels. Different costumes, same plot. The rich and powerful set the rules, the rest of us play on their board, convinced our moves are our own. Yet in reality, our movements are largely confined to only what is allowed by the systems and structures that comprise the extraction engine. The names and descriptions of these systems and structures have varied with time and place, but the goal of each is always extraction. Long ago, feudalism promised protection in exchange for your labor, your loyalty, your life. Today, neoliberal capitalism beckons to anyone willing to climb, but only favors those who own the ladder. Socialism and communism make promises of equality. Yet the ruling members of such systems tend to enjoy lives unequaled by any of their comrades who toil far from the top. Fascism imposes order through force, opposition crushed, wealth and labor regimented for the benefit of the few. Technocracy champions rule by experts. Metrics become levers. Extraction is optimized, but its logic is never questioned. Oligarchy engineers stability through fiat. Power clustered in a few hands, each guarding its share. But under each, the pattern always adapts. The engine is simply refitted, with new parts. At its ugliest, the engine used chattel slavery, labor stolen outright, humanity denied. In a similar vein, indentured servitude was employed, freedom traded for debt, time signed away. Patronage, debt, taxes, subsidies, surveillance, advertising, all just tools for the same job, extraction. More hours, more rent, more fees, more data, more attention. The engine is always hungry, and when the tools wear out, or when we grow wise to them, the story changes, not the intention. Here's how it stays invisible. First, narratives. The stories we're told and the stories we tell ourselves. You're told to work harder, buy smarter, invest earlier, hustle longer, optimize your life. If you fail, it's your fault. You didn't want it enough. If you succeed, it's proof the system works. Either way, the engine keeps humming, its fundamental design unquestioned. The most powerful story the extraction engine uses is the lie that its existence is normal and natural, and therefore the structure it imposes on human societies is normal and natural. That's why you can see the engine in action every day of your life and suffer from its pernicious effects, and yet never notice it's there. The second strategy the engine uses to stay hidden is hierarchy. Think titles, degrees, ranks, lines of credit, preferential treatment, distinctions made by caste, by race, by class, by ethnicity, by religion, by sex and gender, VIP lanes and fast tracks, special access for the right people or available for a price. The ladder keeps you climbing, eyes on the next rung, not the room, not the shape of the game itself. Why build hierarchies? To create a reliable funnel, to keep resources flowing uphill, extracting from the many, wages, rents, taxes, data, to deliver maximum benefit to the few. Don't be fooled. Over the course of time, the rich and powerful few, who are the recipients of the extracted resources, change in name and appearance. In ages past, they were the kings, queens, emperors, and nobility whose courts were the seats of power and influence. Haughty faces painted by great artists into permanence, written about in history books as heroes and icons. Later, they became the magnates and robber barons of the Industrial Revolution, captains of industry and corporate royalty, crowned in smoke and steel. Today we see the beneficiaries of the extraction machine exercising their dominance in well-appointed boardrooms, on super yachts and private planes, in enclaves accessible to only the elite. Modern faces in modern spaces, but same system, same extractive funnel. The third method the engine uses to hide is the oldest trick of all: division. You versus me, left versus right, native versus newcomer, worker versus worker. The rich and powerful few are safer when the many argue amongst themselves, distracted by battles that don't threaten the engine's power source. And when someone notices, when someone breaks the spell, those who point at the engine get branded, sued, banned, audited, blacklisted, imprisoned, exiled, or worse. The lesson is loud and clear: don't touch the gears, don't question the engine. But there's another lesson, quieter. Freedom, real freedom, doesn't start with a new ism. It starts with seeing. Strip away the labels, look past the promises. Ask, who gains? Where does the value go? Who wrote the terms? If the answer keeps pointing to the same tiny circle at the top, you've found the engine room. I'm not offering a map out. Maps are how we get lost again. New directions, same destination. Instead, I'm offering a compass. Attention. Learn to pay attention to the right things. Learn to observe the workings of the extraction engine in all of its variety and detail. See beyond the narratives and the propaganda, and learn to recognize what's real. When a policy floats past, spin it and look for the extract. When a headline shouts, listen for what it hides. When a choice feels urgent, ask who set the deadline. And if you want a place to start, start small. Start with your own life. Study history and philosophy from many viewpoints. Seek sources that disagree, compare claims, and follow citations. Regularly step away from media and noise. Schedule time to think, study and investigate how modern systems actually work. Learn to sit still. Meditate daily, even a few minutes. Turn attention inward to mind, heart, and spirit. Calm attention reveals patterns and reduces reactivity, making manipulation harder. Beware unexamined beliefs and inherited dogma. Question ideas passed down without evidence. Keep what survives scrutiny, discard the rest. Talk less, listen more. Debate without hostility. Hold an open mind, change opinions when better evidence appears. Practice separating fact from opinion. Learn to distinguish reliable sources from deceptive ones. Favor evidence and logic over claims meant to appeal to emotion. You can break free from mental, emotional, and psychological prisons that feed the extraction engine. Freedom grows with attention and disciplined practice. Read the contracts you're meant to click through. Follow the money, not the marketing. Track time like it's a currency, because it is. It's the most valuable thing you have. Reward people who create real value, not just those who move it and trade in it. Refuse to be baited into fighting strangers while the gate stays open for the few. No, the extraction engine won't stop because one person saw it. But one person becomes two. Two becomes three. And in time, when enough people have learned to see the truth, a new thought pattern emerges. New thought patterns have the power to change what's considered normal. And normal is how the engine hides. So today, keep your own score. Notice the fee, the term, the trade. Notice the story that asks for your outrage and the silence around who profits from that outrage. That silence is the tell. You were never meant to notice, now you do. Hold that. Feel its weight. Look past the names, the flags, the slogans. Look at the mechanics of the world around you. And whenever it feels complicated, ask the simplest question of all. Who's extracting and from whom? If you found this presentation enjoyable or informative, like and subscribe for more mind-freeing content.